Oh no, the classic Bastion pro meta. Is this a thing? What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. I am Stylosa. So Blizzard asked us, they said, hey guys, do you want to take a look at one of the playoff games? Maybe if there's a crazy strat being used. And we were like, yeah, sure. We're going to take a look at Bastion. Because you would think Bastion is the counter to double barrier meta. This is a hero that will annihilate barriers. But is that the case? Well, what we're going to do here is take a look at this and break it down. I'm going to hand you guys over to Josh, so enjoy the show.
Oh, Bastion, you misaligned soul. You poor thing. The often target of being bullied, but also one of the most frustrating heroes in the game to deal with. You'd think he'd be incredible in the meta that we've been presented with at the moment. 2 barriers, lots of people piled up on top of one another, very immobile team comps. This surely should be where he thrives, but we don't see him played super often. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, hello, I am one amongst many, and today we're going to do something a little bit different on ProOverAnalyzed. We're going to talk a lot about Bastion. We're going to look at a couple of different rounds where Bastion was played and talk about the uses of him in the pro scene, where he works, where he doesn't work. And here we're actually seeing something very unusual in the pro scene. We're seeing Bastion actually being used on defense. I know, it's incredible, the sheer audacity of using Bastion on defense rather than on offense slapped on a payload. It's incredible. It's insane to see. And why is it so crazy? Well, it's crazy because the pros tend not to use him on defense. Bastion is something of a solvable hero generally. If you use certain very clever methods of dealing with him, then he can stop being a problem. One of those very clever ways of dealing with him is, of course, the Mei. Now, what they want to do is exactly this. They want to try and lift him up and then get rid of him. But I don't know if you caught it, Meko has a very specific task in this entire team comp. Remember that Sty did a video about classic Overwatch and that Bastion had a barrier? Well, Bastion's got his barrier back, people. Yeah, you just need to have a full-time Sigma stood behind you at all moments of the game, and you get that barrier back, no problem. That is literally going to be Meko's job here. He's going to be providing that defense matrix. As you can see, he's going to be putting a barrier in front of the Bastion, and he's just going to be babysitting that bot all day long. That's what his entire role is here. Now, why are NYXL playing this hero? Why are they actually playing this sort of very high-risk, high-reward hero in a pro context where if they smash you, well, you lose all momentum, you lose all these ult charges, you've got to swap off him, you're going to be behind no matter what you do. And the reason why is actually this hero right here, Pharmacy. On maps where Pharmacy is viable, the Bastion suddenly becomes a lot stronger, and you kind of get a good example why right here. So it looks a little chaotic at the moment, but let's break it down. So we've seen that the Titans have been stuck in the sort of corridors back here, right? They've been pushed into this building, they can't leave it in fear of the Bastiono over here. Right now, well, Xiaomin Su, rather, is trying to get into Sabiobi. There we go, let's not mix those two up. He's teleported over, he's going to try and get some pressure on, but he's going to have to Wraith form out as quickly as possible. Sabiobi, he just wants to set up over here. So let's play the tape forward and let's get him into that position. And what they want to do is set up some kind of crossfire with the Pharmacy. And you can see that once the Pharmacy gets an opportunity, well, the Pharah can start deleting threats. She will be punished for it, but that leaves the Bastion still able to be set up. The Baptiste is ready to go, and they can cause a lot of damage. Of course, it's a little bit hard to contest the payload, so hey, Animo's actually going to go and be the one to contest it there on the Mercy. I actually really like this use of Valkyrie. It's a little bit risky flying into the Reaper, but it's still fairly safe overall. Like, she's got the agility, she's got the small body, where Reaper isn't going to have an easy time one-shotting her, and then Sabiobi can use that tank form, get a bit of mobility, that's all he needs, and clean up with this hero. And I've skipped us forward a little bit here just so you can see again this exact same setup. Libero sharking around on this outside area. He wants to try and fire rockets into here so that Titans can't just bunch up in here. He wants to present a threat as they come out here. He wants to constantly put pressure on them from this alternate angle. Meanwhile, you've got this Bastion set up over here, constantly spamming away damage. And you even have the Baptiste Jonak waiting up here, I imagine, just to be as safe as possible so he can throw down the immortality field, make sure the Bastion is as safe as he can be. But what is the weakness of this team comp? Well, it's very vulnerable to just being overrun with ultimates, especially if you do start spending those ultimates a little bit earlier in the fight. You've got stuff like the big bad gravitic flux, rather. There we go. Almost called it gravitic surge. That's not quite right. You've got the sound barrier providing everyone with protection. You're going to have a blizzard available. You've got all these ultimates, and Titans know, well, the Excelsior aren't really going to be able to make plays. They aren't really going to be able to do anything aggressive, and as a result, they can kind of safely build up all of these ultimates, no problem, no worries, and then slowly snowball their way forward. Basically, just get all 6 ultimates, or get 4 or 5 of them, lob them at the Bastion, kill him, and then push forward. And as long as they're making making progress, it doesn't matter. Excelsior had to swap off the Bastion at this point because this point is way too open for it to work, and as a result, they've lost a lot of momentum. And it's this exact reasoning why you don't tend to see Bastion being played on the pro level on 2CP maps unless they can like teleport him to specific locations, or they're trying for just some very specific stall plays. Like if there's only a minute left on the clock, they might try a Bastion play because it's difficult to build all those ultimates in a minute. But Bastion is a tough cookie to crack in terms of playing on normal ladder. The big thing here is just working as a team, making sure that you are coordinated and working together, and then overwhelming him. This, however, was something incredible. Same principles are going to apply, but this is NYXL on the offense, playing Bastion on King's Row against the San Francisco Shock, and we're going to see something incredible. They're going to use the same logic, the same setup, basically using the pharmacy on one side to just poke around with threats, and set up the Bastion on another side and create a real problem on the point. Notice that SabiLB doesn't go for the point. Notice that Mano is playing Meko is playing the exact same role as he was before, right? He is literally playing classic Overwatch, just giving Bastion his barrier. We have Mano in his little safe space, just nicely nestled up on the point here. Basically, his job is to just sit on the point and contest it, basically forcing the Shock to try and do something, because if they don't, they're going to lose. And meanwhile, we got Libero flying around, firing rockets wherever he pleases, trying to flush people out for the Bastion. So how do the Shock try and deal with this? Well, Striker is going to be, of course, integral. They're trying to weigh up their options. You can't really go for Mano because he'll just fortify, he'll get healed by the Baptiste. Maybe they'll use Immortality Field if they really need to, and all that time, SabiLB's going to be drilling you down with that Bastion DPS. So they said they're going to go for SabiLB, but well, there's Immortality Field, there's all these things there. They get the Immortality Field, they bounce out, and then go and contest the point as best as possible. But honestly, NYXL are kind of fine with this. As long as they're making trades, basically going 1-for-1 with the enemy, it doesn't actually matter too much. And especially if SabiLB doesn't die, this threat is going to be overwhelming. They've got the Mercy, they can get reses up and running, they've got the close spawn distance as well, so even if they did trade, they'd reinforce faster, and therefore they'd be able to take the point a little bit quicker. Where the Bastion starts to fall apart, though, is when the Bastion needs to move, which, you know, it makes sense. This is why when you play your games on ladder, if the enemy team is running a Bastion on the payload and you beat it once, and they try and keep forcing it over and over again, it just stops working, because, well, you can generally catch the Bastion on the way there, or you can maybe just pick one or two people off while they're not in comfortable positions. But again, we're going to see the exact same thing, right? Welcome back to classic Overwatch. Welcome back to Meko's fun role of just babysitting the Bastion. I guess, you know, this is kind of an off-tank's job, so hey, he's doing his role. Sinatra even going to probably look for a cheeky flank here and find himself a little bit out of sorts. Like he's even doing the little sneak walk. He wants to take a peek. Oh no, we're not going that direction. But the Excelsior have a problem coming up, right? Shock can just stay around this corner, and well, this corner is perfectly fine for them. They kind of want to be here. This is where they want to take this first fight. Maybe they wanted to do it a little closer to the choke, but yeah. And Excelsior, they've actually just used a lot of resources, and I think this is the problem the Excelsior face, which is if you can bait out resources from the team using the Bastion, then you just disengage, right? Shock don't need to do anything here. They've used the Immortality Field, they used the Baptiste and Matrix, and now they just sit back and wait. And Excelsior, well, they're going to try and force this fight, and it's not going to go super well for them. Libero coordinates with Azarisa, at least they get the Hulk combo, but it's just not going to be enough. And once that pharmacy is down, there's an opening to go in. Immortality Field is down, so the Bastion is vulnerable. Baptiste is vulnerable too, I suppose. That was technically correct. And yeah, as a result, the Shock end up cleaning up. Excelsior now have to reset their team comp, have to go and switch to what has become kind of the meta at the moment. This Lucio, Moira, Reaper, Doomfist sort of mixture. And they're back at square one, and now they're going to lose several minutes being behind the Shock, who have almost all of their ultimates available, and they're going to be just fine doling those out as economically sensibly as possible, and just continually cleaning up fight after fight. There we go, nice early kill. Maybe a couple more kills on the side of the Shock, and as a result, Excelsior are behind, and this is the danger of Bastion. And so, we've seen an example of Bastion on defense, we've seen an example of Bastion on offense. How about an example of both in the pro scene? This is NYXL versus San Francisco Shock. This is literally tournament point. This is the ticket to the grand finals for the San Francisco Shock. They are 3-0 up in the series, And, well, they've gone all in on this Bastion strat on Rialto. And you're seeing actually two different playstyles. Shock opting for Rascal on the Mei, on this offense at the very least, to be able to lift up the enemy Bastion, especially if they get rid of that immortality field, that pesky little problem for them to try and deal with. They can lift the enemy Bastion, as seen, and then try and kill him as quickly as possible. They've got to get rid of that immortality field, otherwise it's just not going to matter. It's going to be deployed somewhere nice and cleverly by Jonak, where the enemy team can't shoot it, and as a result it's going to be tough. NYXL not doing anything too different here. They're just going to play using this pharmacy to poke around on the flanks. Beautiful sleep dart. Actually, let's get a look at that one. The poor Flower, he was just minding his own business, floating around, but oh no, you are in Violet's line of sight, and it's just a cracker of a shot. Oh, Anna, I miss playing you. I miss playing you so much, and it makes me so happy to at least see you being played here. But honestly, this Anna just serves even further to go and help the Bastion. What the Shock are doing is they're banking on the ability for Architect to just ruin absolutely everything when they get the opportunity. They can build up these ultimates that they have, the Baptiste Amp Matrix, the Orisa Bongo, the Ana Nano Boost, and use those on the Bastion or around the Bastion and get so much damage that the NYXL's Bastion comp literally cannot stay put. Especially if that immortality field is baited out or is used inefficiently, they can dump these ultimates, get this high damage burst, and blow away the enemy team. And this is kind of the crux of Bastion. Like, this should be what Bastion is for, right? If the enemy team is entrenched, you can use the Bastion almost to dig them out. He is a tool in your toolbox. And this is kind of where I want to go on a slight tangent, I suppose, but talk more about Bastion in general and how he relates to us plebs, you know, not the pros, but us people playing in normal games. You can't play with this level of coordination. We can't have, you know, we can't be sure if we're playing the Bastion that our off-tank, our Sigma player, is going to actually just literally play Overwatch Classic with us and put a barrier in front of us every single time we need one. You can't rely on having a support as good as Jonak being able to nail the immortality fields every single time you need them, put them in the right place to keep the team alive, and actually get everyone nice and safe. Beautiful pull there, actually, that killed Sabiobi. That was a beautiful job by Smurf. Just yanked him out of line of sight of the immortality field and managed to get the kill. Superb stuff. This is why the Shock, like, I'm so happy for the Shock that they made it to the finals, because, man, if any team deserved it, and Sty and I called it, Sty and I said it at the start, it wasn't really a bold prediction that Titans and Shock were going to be the ones in the finals, but, man, I am so happy for both these teams. I'm rooting for the Shock. I said last season that, hey, the Shock were one of the more dull teams, I suppose, in the league. They weren't super interesting or fancy, but this season, oh my word, they've been incredible to watch, and I really, really hope their journey takes them all the way. But anyway, I'll sidetrack myself. Don't worry too much. There's the Blizzard. It's really good, by the way. Blizzard, extremely good at killing Bastions. If the enemy team is dug in on the payload or on the point and you want to break it and you have like 3 minutes plus, get a Mei. Trust me, it's real good. You get the Blizzard onto the Bastion. He can't really dodge it. He doesn't move super well, ladies and gents. He can't really get out the way of it. He freezes up, he has a bit of a panic, and he ends up dying. Right, where was I? I was making a point. Yeah, Bastion is, like, he should be really good in this meta. He should be excellent in this meta. The issue is that it's so emphasized on one-shot kills at this point. The pressure on, like, rapid, super fast kills to blow people away, and having the mobility of Reaper and the mobility and safety, I suppose, of Reaper and Doomfist especially, is why these two heroes have kind of become the kings of the meta. Oh dearie me, lift and just blow them away. Case in point, by the way, like, big one-shot burst damage annihilating the enemy team there, trying to get past immortality fields, lift up the enemy team, blow them away with a big single punch, and there you go. But yeah, it's this mixture of, like, safety, I suppose, of the Reaper and the safety and killing power of the Doomfist, where they can go in, try and get a kill, fish for it, and if it fails, they can get away quite a lot. If the Bastion fails, it's generally catastrophic. You generally just lose the point, or you lose whatever you're trying to defend at the time, and you can't really do too much more. It's really, really kind of all in. It's an all or nothing thing. And this is where I really want to talk about Bastion's design from a character point of view, because there's something that I think people forget when they talk about balance in Overwatch, and like, oh, Bastion should be viable, Bastion should be strong, Bastion should be doing this and that. I agree that Bastion should be strong against these team comps, and by the way, you can see that Shock just layering all their defenses perfectly. There's the immortality field, there's Joy Hobin with the kinetic grass blocking up all the damage. There's so much in the way stopping that all digging its way through that Sabiobi just can't do anything here, unfortunately. You can swap heroes in Overwatch. And Bastion to me is a tool, right? You should be able to swap to him and use him to dig out stuff like these double barrier comps. And I don't know whether they need to change Bastion to make him do more damage to barriers, but then you run the risk of basically deleting Reinhardt from the game if you do that. Maybe they need to just find ways of making barriers interfere with each other somehow so you can't layer them as easily. And, well, yeah, there's a bit of a failure to contest there. Feels bad, man. Yeah, it's a real difficult problem for Blizzard to solve, and I really hope they find a good way to do it. And I mentioned this almost as a joke to Stylosa and one of the videos where we're discussing kind of the state of the balance, which is that you can remake Bastion into a support. And honestly, the more I thought about this, the more I kind of liked that idea. Having a support who can destroy barriers very effectively, but perhaps can't kill enemy teams, enemies very effectively, is actually not a terrible idea. Having something built for suppression fire more than, direct damage, so you maybe even increase Bastion's spread damage even more. You give him an ability to heal people somehow, make him into a dispenser from TF2 for all I care. I don't know how to do it, that's for Blizzard to figure out. But then you give him an ability to ruin barriers, and suddenly you have this option of a support who perhaps can't heal quite as much, is perhaps a little bit immobile, a little bit vulnerable, but can really ruin barriers' days. Maybe that's one of the ways to get around this problem. We will see. I will say that if you are struggling with Bastion on the ladder, and a lot of people do, then exploiting mistakes is definitely one of the best ways to get around it. Once that Bastion is forced to move, that is your time to strike. That is the thing to keep in mind. You saw it there from the San Francisco Shock. Architect had to go for a drop down, ends up dying, and, well, it just doesn't work out for him. And NYXL can even do things like get the Bastion back up because they have that Mercy, and they can revive him, get all the damage out, and get the job done. If you are playing with a Bastion, by the way, just speaking from almost personal experience here, and you are playing something like Baptiste, do not be afraid to use those immortality fields fairly liberally, especially early in the game. Do not be afraid to just blow your cooldowns to make sure the Bastion survives, because if he dies, again, it's very all or nothing, and momentum is so important in Overwatch that you can't really afford to lose it. I will say as well, having another flexible DPS like this pharmacy comp is extremely useful and extremely powerful and vital to making this work. The ability to present another threat is going to be super useful. Piling everyone up in one spot is just kind of asking yourself to be ulted, and if you see an enemy team doing this, well, if you've got like 3 minutes, you've got 2 or 3 minutes, build up a bunch of ultimates and just wipe them out in a single blow as aggressively as possible. Try and bait some cooldowns out of them first, and then go in and hit them as hard as you can. It's almost a guaranteed win every single time. Oh dearie me. I will say as well, by the way, if you are interested in sort of pro psyche and how pro players think, one of the most breathtaking things to come out of the finals, and like this deserves special mention, I really want to put a spotlight on this, was Sabiobi and Flower throughout this entire series. Flower was only brought in here at like the 11th hour for the NYXL. He is an incredible player. He was the Widowmaker player that popped off at the World Cup. He did incredible things. He looks incredibly good for the future, but he was too young to play in Overwatch League. He's finally come of age. They throw him into the grand finals on tournament point, and it doesn't go great for him. But during all of this, Sabiobi was there literally holding his hand at various points, just trying to provide a comfort for him. Apparently Sabiobi was saying and telling Flower, like, don't worry about this. This is my fault that we've ended up in this situation. Like, I've been playing really badly. We're so sorry to put you into this situation, but, he's the one that's been screaming for this map, so he's the one that needs to play on it. And, yeah, I like taking the blame, shouldering the blame as like a team leader and being that rallying individual that Flower might need, especially as a younger player. He certainly might need that little bit of confidence, that little bit of encouragement to actually play better. And honestly, this is something that does translate into Overwatch in general. I don't know about you guys, but when I play a game and someone starts flaming someone else incessantly or starts like blaming other people, it's just the least useful thing on the planet. It's just so utterly pointless. And being the person to occasionally, and like I've done this intentionally at times, I've been like, oh no guys, I've been really messing up, I'm sorry. Sometimes, not all the time, but a lot of the times people will actually almost respond to that and just kind of either go, yeah, you have been kind of messing up, but then you just kind of go, whatever. Or they go, oh no, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it, man. We'll go next or whatever. It's fine. Like, we'll work around it. We'll figure out something. You don't have to go, oh man, I'm super terrible. I'm being awful. But it's just like shouldering the blame. Oh yeah, I messed up that fight, guys. Don't worry about it. We'll sort it out for the next fight. I won't make a mistake again. It's taking those little bits of blame, and you'll be surprised at how good that is at nullifying a little bit of toxicity here and there. And that's kind of the note that I want to finish out on, being honest with you. Bastion versus Bastion video feed gameplay ain't the most exciting thing in the world. San Francisco Shock are an excellent team. I'm kind of rooting for them in the final myself. I do want to know who you guys are rooting for in the finals, but I also want to know what you guys would do to change Bastion. If he needs changing, what would you do to try and fix him, make him more viable, make him do the job that perhaps he's built to do, which is this barrier destruction? Because as you can see in front of us, well, there's a good, over 2,000 hit points of barriers there with a defense matrix in the form of Meko's hand and an immortality field and all these things to break. Surely this is where Bastion should be strong, but there's just so many things in his way. Is it Bastion's problem? Is it the game's problem? Who knows? This is for smarter minds than mine to try and figure out. Thank you for joining me for this. I've been Josh, one amongst many Pemberton. You can find me, of course, on Twitter at @one_amongst_many. You can also find me on YouTube at one amongst many. You can find me on Twitch, rather, at one amongst many TV as well. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to Sty for his outro stuff, because I'm sure he'll want to talk, because that man loves the sound of his own voice, trust me. And yeah, it's been my pleasure. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.
Likes the sound of his own voice. You having a laugh? You what, mate? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Josh, for that. It was beautiful. What do you guys think about Bastion? Let us know in the comments below, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. Whoa, I'm getting really hyped now for the finals. It's going to be absolutely huge. I think we'll see Bastion, maybe. Could we? I don't know. Whoa.